Every night, before she closed her eyes, Jackie Crenshaw prayed. And every night, a man named Brandon prayed right alongside her. They talked about God. They talked about their future. They talked about the life they were going to build together. She had never met him in person, not once, but she knew his voice better than anyone's. She knew his children's names. She knew his dreams, and she believed, with everything in her, that he was real. Jackie Crenshaw wasn't some naive woman who didn't know any better. She was a senior manager at Yale New Haven Hospital, 40 years in medicine. She ran the breast imaging department. She saved lives for a living. She was the one who held other women's hands and told them everything was going to be okay. But there she was, 60 years old, accomplished, intelligent, sending her entire retirement to a man she'd never touched. We all know that scammers target the lonely and the desperate. But what happens when they target the faithful? What happens when they weaponize prayer? This is the story of how Jackie Crenshaw lost nearly $1 million to a ghost. A man who called her every morning and every night. A man who sent her flowers and pizza and a locket with their pictures inside. A man who asked her to bow her head and talk to God with him, then stole everything she had. And this is the story of how she refused to stay silent. Jackie Crenshaw spent 40 years in mammography, 40 years of reading scans, catching tumors, and delivering news that no woman ever wants to hear. She worked her way up to senior manager for breast imaging at Yale New Haven Hospital, overseeing the Smilo Cancer Hospital's mobile 3D mammography van, a state-of-the-art unit that she personally drove into underserved communities across Connecticut. She wasn't just doing a job, she was on a mission. And when she wasn't at the hospital, she was volunteering with Sisters Journey, a faith-based non-profit founded in New Haven back in 1999. Their mission was simple. No woman of color should have to face breast cancer alone. Jackie believed that. She lived it. 12-hour shifts. Dozens of staff members reporting to her. Testimonies at the state capitol fighting for insurance coverage. Jackie Crenshaw was the person everyone else leaned on. But at the end of every long day, she went home to an empty house. She hadn't been in a serious relationship in 10 years. 10 years of pouring everything into everyone else. And at 60 years old, she finally made a decision. It was her turn. Somebody was going to take care of her for once. In May of 2023, Jackie joined BLK, a dating app designed for African Americans. She scrolled through profiles until one stopped her cold. His name was Brandon Miller, blue eyes, widower, father of 2 young boys. Something about him felt different. She sent the first message. Brandon responded immediately. And from that moment on, he was everywhere. He called in the morning. He called at lunch. He called before bed. If Jackie mentioned she was hungry, pizza showed up at her door. He sent trinkets, flowers, and a gold locket with their photos nestled side by side. But the thing that sealed it, the thing that made Jackie believe this was real, happened every single night. Before they said goodbye, Brandon would ask her to pray with him. For a woman who had built her life on faith and service, that felt like confirmation from God himself. A few months into the relationship, Brandon mentioned cryptocurrency. He wasn't pushy about it, just curious. Do you know about it? He told Jackie he'd become an expert during the pandemic, learning while he was home with his boys. He'd made serious money. He showed her receipts, statements, numbers that looked very real. Eventually, he suggested she invest too. For their future, he said. For the life they were building together. Jackie withdrew $40,000 from her 401k and wired it to a Bitcoin account at Brandon's direction. Within weeks, she started receiving statements from something called Coincluster, a cryptocurrency platform that, as it turns out, did not exist. But Jackie didn't know that. The statements looked legitimate, professional. Every week, they showed her investment climbing by thousands of dollars. Then Brandon sent her a check for $100,000. He said it was her return on investment, a gift for their future. But something about the check bothered her. It wasn't written by Brandon. It was written by a woman in Vero Beach, Florida, someone Jackie had never heard of. She took the check to her local police department. She told them she was concerned it might be fraud. The officers looked at her, looked at the check, and sent her on her way. They blew me off, Jackie later recalled. She went to the bank. They confirmed the account was legitimate. The check cleared. What Jackie didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that the woman in Florida was also a victim. She had also fallen in love with Brandon. She had also been told to send money. The scammers were using victims to pay other victims, creating a self-sustaining loop of stolen funds that looked, from the outside, like legitimate transactions. Jackie kept investing. Brandon kept sending fake statements. By the time the dust settled, her portfolio appeared to be worth over $1 million. Brandon allegedly spent $80,000 planning her 60th birthday party, 135 guests, sparklers, a 360-degree photo booth. He was finally going to fly out and meet her. The holidays were coming. Everything was falling into place. But in all that time, over a year of daily calls, nightly prayers, thousands upon thousands of text messages, Jackie had never once seen Brandon's face on a video call. There was always an excuse. In June 2024, Jackie's phone rang, but it wasn't Brandon on the other end. It was a detective from the Connecticut State Police. Someone had called in an anonymous tip. The caller had a thick Indian accent and said he felt bad for her. He told the police that Jackie Crenshaw was being scammed and that she had no idea. Jackie's first reaction was denial. She didn't believe it. She couldn't. This was Brandon, the man who prayed with her, the man who was planning their future. But the detective kept talking, and the more he talked, the less AIR there was in the room. Jackie sat in her house for hours afterward, completely unable to move. "The earth fell beneath me," she said. She confronted Brandon. He denied everything. She cut off communication, but he kept calling anyway because of course he did. The scam wasn't over until she stopped being useful. Connecticut State Police traced the money. It had moved through digital wallets in Singapore, Nigeria, and China. Gone. Unrecoverable. The investigation revealed what Jackie had refused to see. Brandon Miller never existed. His photographs were stolen from someone else's social media account. Coincluster, the platform that sent her weekly statements showing massive gains, was entirely fake. likely AI generated. The 20,000 text messages she received over the course of the relationship weren't written by one man. They were written by a network, a team, a business. Total financial loss, approximately $1 million. Her 401k was gone, every cent. But here's the part that makes your stomach turn. Jackie now owes more than $59,000 in federal and state taxes on the retirement funds she withdrew. The IRS does not care that the money was stolen. She's paying $700 a month in taxes for the next 6 years. Her home is in foreclosure. She has to find somewhere else to live. Shortly after the truth came out, Jackie walked into a grocery store. She sampled some smoked Gouda cheese. She asked the associate how much it cost. $8. She couldn't afford it. A woman who had spent 40 years managing departments and saving lives was standing in the cheese aisle, doing math she never thought she'd have to do. When I think about someone who prays with you every day, Jackie said, if that's not deception and the devil and pure evil, who would pray with somebody if it wasn't for real? Jackie Crenshaw had a choice. She could disappear into shame, let the embarrassment swallow her whole, and hope nobody ever found out what happened. Or she could do the opposite. She chose the opposite. Jackie partnered with the AARP Fraud Watch Network and was featured in their documentary series Fraud Wars. She stood next to Connecticut Attorney General William Tong and recorded a public service announcement that aired on television and radio across the state for 16 weeks straight. She put her face on camera and told the world exactly what had been done to her. Tong didn't mince words. Jackie did everything right, he said. She was a leader in a profession that was saving lives. She owned her own home. She was the beloved rock of her large extended family. She wanted someone to share in her success, and she thought she found that love. It was a scam. But Jackie wasn't finished. She walked into the Connecticut State Capitol and testified before the legislature in support of House Bill 6990, a bill that would give law enforcement the power to seize and freeze cryptocurrency used in fraud. She explained in detail just how sophisticated these criminals had become. State Representative Jamie Foster, who sponsored the bill, said Jackie's testimony showed the sophistication of these criminals in a way that lawmakers needed to hear. The bill passed the House 140-0. It passed the Senate 36-0. Governor Ned Lamont signed it into law on June the 23rd, 2025. Jackie has since spoken at the Aspen Institute and FBI headquarters. She works with fraud prevention networks across the country. Her anthem is a Beyoncé lyric, "You can't break my soul." And through all of it, the testimony, the interviews, the cameras in her face, she still shows up to Yale New Haven Hospital. She still drives the mammography van into neighborhoods where women can't afford to see a doctor. She still does the work. Jackie says, "I am broke, but not broken." Jackie Crenshaw lost nearly $1 million. Her retirement, her home, her belief that prayer could not be weaponized, but she did not lose herself. Today, she still works 12-hour days at Yale New Haven Hospital. She still climbs into that mammography van and drives into communities where women can't afford to see a doctor. She still holds their hands and tells them everything is going to be okay, because she knows what it feels like when everything is not okay. The man who called himself Brandon Miller was never real. His blue eyes were stolen from someone else's photographs. His children were fiction. His prayers were scripts. But the money Jackie sent him was very real, and it disappeared into wallets scattered across Singapore, Nigeria, and China, places where American justice cannot reach. No one has been arrested. No one has been charged. The scammers are still out there, still preying with lonely people, still saying "I love you" to dozens of victims at once. Romance scams cost Americans over $1 billion a year. That's not a number. That's a generation of retirement savings, of homes, of futures. Jackie Crenshaw refuses to let her story be just another statistic. She testifies, she advocates, she shows her face, because shame only protects the people who hurt you. "I am broke," she says, "but not broken." If her story made you pay closer attention, then consider subscribing. Because there's always another story, and the more we tell them, the harder it gets to look away.